Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Dragon Spirit, the New Legend, brought to us by Bandai and Namco. Dragon Spirit, the New Legend is a port of the arcade game Dragon Spirit that was released in 1987. There were many ports of this game, but this is the only one that carries the name New Legend. Dragon Spirit is a typical vertical shooter with lots of power-ups and lots of enemies to deal with all the time. You're always going to have to be on your toes, moving and dodging every bullet that's coming at you. But there are some unique things in this game, including it has a storyline, has unique power-ups, the fact that you play as a dragon, and also has probably one of the unique ways of deciding your difficulty. So here we go with Dragon Spirit, the New Legend for the NES. Now we start off with the game. I'm going to leave it at the title screen for just a few seconds as we'll get some introductory story to the game. After that story introduction, when you press the start button, you get a little bit of more scrolling text to tell you a little bit more about the storyline of the game. Now all the story that we've seen so far, including this level, is actually a prequel to the actual game. We're playing actually as our main character's father in this first level. As you can see, it's a typical vertical shooter. We'll have lots of power-ups that I'll explain along the way of the game. As well, though, as we don't actually have one hit, we actually get 3 hits in the game. So you'll see your health bar in the lower left corner will slowly go down every time you take a hit. Also, every time you take a hit, you will lose power-ups, so it's very crucial that you try to dodge as much, especially if you want to be all powered up when you get to the boss at the end of each level. Here's our first little boss. Every time that he moves the stick away and starts to fire at you is when you're actually able to do damage to him. Just circle around him every time he comes down at you so that you can get away from him easily, and repeat the process every time he opens up. You shouldn't have too much trouble, and you should be able to beat him after only a few times after he opens up. Now, if you do lose a life during the opening stage of the game, you'll get a different cutscene here, as well as you'll end up playing on the easier difficulty, which you play as a gold dragon instead of a blue one. As you can see at the title screen now, it says the Blue Dragon, and now you press start. Have a little bit more cutscene of seeing our main character Lace holding the sword up and transforming into his dragon form. The easier difficulty, not only do you play as a gold dragon, you have 3 bars of health, a few more lives I think, and the game ends up ending after only a few levels, and you end up getting the bad ending. First of all, with vertical shooters in general, it comes down to playing the game over and over and over again to memorize the enemy patterns, the way to defeat each boss, and then how to dodge most of the perils that are throughout each level. So, I've played this game a lot, and I'm probably going to make a lot of parts look easy, but I'm still not perfect at it by any means. This game is a pretty good introductory vertical shooter, so those who haven't really played too many, if you want to get into it, I suggest picking this one up and playing it for a little bit. It starts off pretty slow. There's some hard levels later on in the game, but for the most part you can get eased into the game and have a lot of fun doing so. Plus, there's not too many vertical shooters out there where you actually play as a dragon. In this game, we have 2 forms of fire. You can fire at the ground in order to hit enemies on the ground or in the water, as well as you can fire straight with your normal shot. You get many power-ups in the game. I'll explain them as we go through, as I just right there was able to get a split head power-up. It looks like the blue circle with the white marks in it, and that allows you to actually have 2 heads. When you get another one, you'll split to 3 heads, in which case you'll have triple the firepower. With these enemies on the ground, you may want to avoid them altogether, as you can hang on the far right or left side of them, because once you get close to them, they spring up, and then they fly at you. If you're careful or you're quick, you should be able to hit them with a bomb or a grenade to the ground to hit them first. But you're going to have to be very quick about it. As far as these purple enemies go, usually I don't even shoot them unless I'm trying to get a power-up or two, because every time that you do shoot them, they split apart into multiple bullets or multiple feathers, it looks like, that fall down on you in a different spread direction. So you have to be very careful when trying to avoid them. So if you decide to attack those enemies, be wary of actually shooting them or being too close to them once they explode. With the power-ups, I'm going to try to do my best to describe what they are, because sometimes I can't tell exactly what they look like. Like, for example, the one I just grabbed right there, that white circle with the red circle within it, kind of looks maybe like an Egyptian symbol or such. What it does is actually, every time you throw a grenade or the shot to the ground, what it does is it shakes the ground like an earthquake for a few seconds, and it kills any enemies nearby that you actually can see on screen that are on the ground. It doesn't affect any of the enemies in the air, so you won't be able to take those out, but the enemies on the ground get taken out by it. Those red fireball looking things add firepower. They add more power to your fire shots. You can only go up to a certain point, and every time you get hit you will lose it. It'll go back down to the lowest or just about the lowest form every time. Now here's the first boss. It's kind of like a turtle dragon here, and you shoot a lot of fireballs quickly at it. It'll fire straight at you for the most part, so unless you're right in its line of fire, you should be able to dodge its straight hits. You may want to wait for it to back up to the end or the top of the screen in order to fire shots at it. If you have the three-headed dragon at this point, especially at this boss battle, it's very easy to stay to the slight left or slight right so that your far left or far right shot easily hits them, and you should be able to take them out pretty fast. Now at the end of each level you save a princess, but sometimes the princess isn't saved even though you beat the level. Like, there'll be a shadow grayed out version of them. But every time you do save an actual princess, when she actually appears in full color form and talks to you, you end up usually sometimes getting another life, or you'll end up getting your health refill, which is very useful. That's the only way to get health back in the game. You can get rarely a few extra lives from the actual power-ups throughout the game, but in terms of health, you can't get it back unless they fill it up at the end. My power-up right now is this pink dragon form, which you're completely invincible from. You can't get hurt by any enemies while you're in the pink form. There's actually two types of invincibility in the game. This one gives you a different kind of shot, as well as if you did have 3 heads, it ends up shrinking it only back down to 1. So it is really good that you're invincible for a few seconds, but at the same time you do lose some of your power-up. What I grab right there, that kind of white circle with the red mark throughout it, what that is, that's a speed up, which allows me to move quicker, which sometimes, for some players, you'll end up moving way too fast, and you may accidentally run into an object on the side of you when you're trying to quick dodge because you move so fast. It's something that takes a little bit to get used to, so you're going to have to practice with it anytime you do get a speed up. As far as the perils go in this level, most enemies are pretty easy to see, the firebirds that come out. Just be careful when you're going over most of the terrain that you're not right over a volcano when it's about to erupt. The hit detection is a little weird with it, and sometimes it may look like you got hit by a volcano, but you end up getting past it just fine. Here's our second boss. 2 rings go around that are blocking. I usually like to hide in that first ring, as you can see right there, and just keep firing as many shots as I can very quickly in it, and slowly move along with it. If you have a lot of power-ups, they'll be done very quickly. If not, you may want to stay out of the second ring and shoot him from a distance while he's moving around, and anytime he gets too close to the bottom of the screen, then move within the first ring, just to kind of drag along so you don't end up getting hit by it. Now at the end of that level, you could see that I found another princess, but this time it was the silhouette form of her. It's completely random, it seems like. I'm not sure exactly what determines when you find a princess and when you don't. I tried to look on message boards, and pretty much even those who play the game a lot couldn't quite figure out what makes the princesses appear and what makes them just be the silhouette form. So if you get one, congratulations. If not, don't feel too bad about it. The third level of the game is probably the hardest easily that we've faced so far. The ground enemies, the frogs, are pretty annoying because of their long range and their spread shot. Use the bomb drops in order to take them out, or just try to avoid them because they're only going to be up for a few seconds, and if you try to get close sometimes you may end up getting hit by some